guys, this video is about medial tibial stress syndrome or shin splints and how you can change your running style or little adaptations you can make to it that may help to offload that painful area. So what I'm going to cover in this session is the main causes for medial shin pain to develop, because that will help you to understand why you need to change your running style if you're running with certain things. And then we're going to discuss practical cues that you can use to change if you feel you've got those elements in your running style. My name is Maryke. I'm one of the physios from sportsinjuryphysio.com, where you can get online physiotherapy assessment as well as treatment for your injuries. So have a look at the description of this video if you want a link to the website. Good, so medial tibial stress syndrome is a mouthful, but it's an overuse injury. And it's basically if you either increase your training massively, don't get enough recovery time, or if there's something in your running style or in your muscle balances that causes this area to overstrain. It can be caused through weak glutes combined with pronation and things like that as well. So it's not the only thing. Your running style is not necessarily the only cause for it. So you have to sort out muscle strength and things as well. But I've made a whole video about all the causes and the treatment options you've got available, so you may want to watch that as well. I'll put a link at the end of this video to that one. Okay, so for running style specifically, things that can strain that inside and make it overwork is if your leg turns in excessively when you run, because that will put a large torsion force through this area. Also, if your legs crosses over as you run, so narrow line of progression, because that will put extra force onto this part of the bone. One of the most important ones, which can cause a wide variety of injuries as well, is if you overstride. So you're landing quite hard on your heel in front of your body, and there's a lot of force coming into your leg through that, and that can cause all of that to be even worse. So those are the three main things that we want to adapt or try to reduce if you find that in your running style. Now, how do we do it? First of all, increasing your step rate or your cadence by a tiny bit can actually address all three of, or at least the internal rotation and the overstride already. So step rate is how many steps you give in a minute. So people with a slower or lower step rate tend to have more force coming through their legs, and they tend to have a slightly worse running style usually. So if you increase your step rate, you tend to shorten your stride, so overstriding is reduced. You also tend to not make contact with the floor that hard or for that long, so you get less reaction forces going up the leg, and it tends to reduce how much your leg turns in. Now for the turning in of the leg, you can also just think about if you run and you feel that that's what's happening in your legs, you can just think about trying to point your kneecaps forwards as you run, not allowing them to move quite so far in. It is normal for the knees to turn in a little bit when you run, but it shouldn't be excessive. So don't try and run with your knees pointing out. That's not normal either. A little bit of a turn in is fine, but not a massive movement. Then another good one for overstriding is just thinking about trying to land with your foot more underneath your center of gravity, so more underneath your body rather than far out. So to demonstrate that, so instead of landing with it there, think about just trying to land with it more underneath you, and you'll find that that naturally turns you into more of a mid-foot strike runner. We don't really want you running on your forefoot when you've got medial shin pain, because that can overwork the calf muscles, especially soleus, quite often, and that's often already inflamed and sore or overworked in this condition. So mid-foot strike is better than forefoot strike for this. Then if you find you've got a narrow line of progression, and a good tip that you, or hint that you may have that, is if you kick yourself when you run. Just think about widening your steps a little bit, your gait, so that you don't quite run as if you're running on a tightrope. That can already make a difference. And with all of these changes, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just a little reduction in any of them can already start to offload the tissue and make a slight difference. So don't go for big changes. Work on little changes and see what the effect is. It's often also best to practice this with a run-walk program, because it's a new movement and your muscles and everything is not strong enough in that movement pattern yet, you will not be able to do it for a full 5K, for instance, or you'll overwork other things because you're not strong enough in that position to train for that long. So rather do like 1 minute running with good form, 1 minute walking, 1 minute running with good form, 1 minute walking. And if you're coming back from an injury, that's the perfect time to practice that, because you shouldn't be running continuously necessarily when you come back from an injury. Run walks is usually a better way to get back to running again. If you're already running continuously and you just want to do it to prevent future injury, then have days where you just work on technique. So maybe for the first 5 minutes of your easy run or something like that, work on technique and try to incorporate it into that. Excellent. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comments or send me a message. But if you need more help with your injury, you're always welcome to consult me via video call. Link to the website is in the description of this video. Take care.